3 hands! 3 hands! 3 hands! So it's been a while since a full-fledged series based on Left 4 Dead content was being produced. I recently moved into a new apartment with Ven the Mage, and I was mulling over what I should do next. I got some positive and some not so positive feedback on my Overwatch content, but please bear with me. I'm going to be diversifying into other series so I don't end up hating Left 4 Dead content creation, but I'll still be producing videos when I can. With that disclaimer out of the way, let's get back to it. I've covered the survivors, the infected, and everything in between, but now about where they were. So I figured let's take an analysis of the maps, but also review the campaigns the survivors went through in both Left 4 Dead 1 and Left 4 Dead 2. This week, we'll start with the campaign that started it all and give us the first look into the Left 4 Dead infected-filled universe. This week, we're doing No Mercy! Starting off where the Left 4 Dead 1 cinematic left off, the survivors find themselves atop an apartment building in the middle of Fairfield, Pennsylvania, which is actually a real city near Gettysburg, although the town in real life is much smaller than its video game counterpart, with a population size roughly at about 500. Bill, Francis, Lewis, and Zoe battle through apartments, a subway system, back up on the streets to go into a sewer, which sewers seem to be the most popular route to take for survivors, as we will come to see. Such a shitty way to go. Back out onto the streets into Mercy Hospital, where they get to the roof for a helicopter escape. Hence why this campaign is called No Mercy, in which most Left 4 Dead campaigns try to make a pun of the context the setting is placed in. Although the original title for the campaign was originally a more dark and edgy Hell Hospital. The whole reasoning behind fighting their way to the top of a more than 28-story hospital was because of the helicopter pilot flying by and informing the survivors that the low ground area nearby was not safe to approach, since he was attacked by the infected sometime prior and bitten. In order to pick them up in a safer area, the pilot gave them the ultimatum of fighting to Mercy Hospital for evac. The overall atmosphere of the campaign sets the mood for what is to come, especially with the No Mercy being completely set at night. The dark tones, the lights laying out an almost blood red drop on buildings, with those in the distance dark enough to be a silhouette, showing danger is close and that the unknown is further, creepy scores set by pianos and other haunting ensembles, corridors built to make you wonder what lies ahead, paths to make you question which way is right, the light drizzle and distant thunders setting the dreadful mood to the calm before the storm, and the campaign's way of making things to be not too redundant make for an enjoyable time. I would go over how certain situations like a dead body in a room, half-eaten, or a car crash through a building sets the precedence for storytelling without dialogue, but that will be the subject of another video entirely. But instead of scratching the surface, how about we take a look at each chapter? Chapter 1, The Apartments, was a short but very informative first step. Watching the helicopter take off before having to descend an apartment full of the infected was a great setup for what the campaign's goals were, teaching multiple routes to progress through a stage from the get-go, like taking either the stairs or jumping through the glass roof, or taking the shortcut and dying, laying out less conventional routes the survivors must take, like going through a hole in the floor because the stairs are clogged with furniture, and showing a stark contrast at facing the infected in a close quarters area, moving into a more open and daunting environment, going outside on ground level and looking up at the towering buildings, dreading an infected attack from below or above. The contrast of light and music adds to the creepy aura of this atmosphere as you approach a very divergent pathway where you can either go indoors to grab from a medical cabinet, take the long route around, or just follow the street for the quickest route, giving multiple routes that all merge at the end for an obstacle the survivors can't just be gun crazy and hit. Introducing the car alarm in front of the subway entrance pretty much was a sneaky way to engage the survivors with the mechanic that car alarms could alert hordes. Going into the subway into a safe room, we are given the first taste of what the series has to offer. If I had to give a rating for chapter 1, it'd be 5 out of 5. The second chapter is a hell of a lot longer this time around. The destruction capabilities of the infection are showcased in full upon leaving the safe room. The ceiling above is mostly caved in, and the floor in front of the doorway is destroyed, leading to the stairwells below. This area can be a bit confusing considering you can double back once descending from the original floor and seeing a giant room to explore. You can also adventure through a short ventilation shaft, a spitter's paradise, but it all seems like a waste of time unless you're getting supplies, considering the stairwell directly in front of you is the only real path. Going into the subway tunnels is actually pretty interesting considering how often the survivors must take either a left or right, or even weaving through the cars themselves. While it does give a slight replayability to the map itself, it's not much variety, especially before arriving at the final subway car, where you're given a fork in the tunnel where you are forced to take the right path since the left path's ceiling had caved in. While this does show how far the damage is being done done by the infected, it also showcases how limited you are in where you are going, displaying how linear paths will be throughout the game. Not to say anything is wrong with the linear format, Left 4 Dead was originally planned to be a more open world experience, but with how chaotic the AI director spawns hordes and how each chapter focuses on getting to a safe room, a more open map would prove to be confusing and people would end up getting lost or frustrated while they played, which is very understandable in a game where keeping a team together against waves of infected is necessary. The generator room is an interesting concept as it introduces the dynamic of a stopping point where the survivors must activate or move something that will summon a horde. In this case, starting the generators to open up the mechanical door to progress forward. While the door slowly opens, the four must fight waves of infected however they see fit, either by doing the original strat of hiding under the pipes from Left 4 Dead 1 before the spitter was introduced, holding down the nearby office where medical supplies reside but standing risk of falling backwards because of the hole nearby, or if the door is opened up enough, the survivor can make a mad dash by crawling, or if it's up high enough, walking through until they get to the safe room. The last stretch of road after this part does seem a bit long considering everything else beforehand in this chapter, but it does reinstate the idea of a dark, overtaken city in the midst of a pandemic where you can see no mercy in the distance. It's kind of a reminder each time you progress in through the city of how much closer you're getting to no mercy. And after that long stretch, we have another car alarm near the end. We wrap up chapter 2. It was a bit long for my taste, but it did decide to take an interesting route, weaving through disabled cars, multiple routes, and finding a horde spurred by a generator. A lot of spots felt unnecessary to add for survivor access, like above the generator room and the area behind the first drop-off, although I may just be nitpicking. Chapter 2 rating, 4 out of 5. The next chapter has some awesome and some not so awesome elements. Taking either the long routes for supplies or short route is an entertaining tidbit, giving a high-risk, high-reward scenario. Regardless, they both lead to the same destination that puts you in an open area that leads to a gas station. And boy, is it fun to just... Damn, that was loud! Hell, I bet a lot of infected are coming. It's been 2 minutes. Where are they? Oh well, let's keep on going. Time to ride the scissor lift up to meticulously get through this warehouse. Alright, I activated it. Up this easily. Wait, what? What the fuck? The cool part about going up the scissor lift is it makes you completely linear with Mercy Hospital in the skyline, showing that you're getting even closer to your objective, even though this does seem like an off-branch route. Taking the worst route possible though, you go inside with a choke point to some pills and go inside the warehouse where you can open the automatic door to let anyone else on the other side in. The warehouse provides a temporary 3-branch route to take, and then you go down an alley that any charger would cream over, and then proceed to go into a boiler room of sorts where you're given 2 different routes to enter the sewers by. You can either hop in the manhole in the middle of the room or go to the side room and go from there. The entry point area for the sewer is an interesting and honestly scary way to enter since there's no going back after your leap of faith. This is one of the first choke points besides the hole in the apartments. The sewer system seems like a maze at first and honestly breaks the whole linear pathway dynamic, making for a more frightening time since you don't feel like you know where you're going, but it's also frustrating. Eventually getting to a ladder, you must go up one by one up a good 2-story flight. If you're in versus mode, this is pretty much a nightmare since being up a ladder makes you defenseless, separates you from your teammates, and when being attacked on a ladder, you'll most likely fall and be incapped or even killed. But we soon return to the street and... oh look! Another car alarm at the end of the level. And then you make your way into the hospital. The whole blowing up the gas station thing is great, but asinine that a damn scissor lift is what spawns a horde and not the gas station blowing up. Especially considering that scissor lift, in the first place, is an asinine and dangerous way of navigating around. The sewers, while a breath of fresh air from walking, well, I wouldn't say it's a breath of fresh air, you're literally breathing in shit. Well, but it's not a straight line, serving as a reminder of what Valve could have made the game about, random pathways and more open worlds that lead nowhere, and if you don't know the sewers layout, you may end up frustrated while getting punched in the back of the head by a common, and screw that ladder. However, serving as another unique route to take for the survivors instead of constant city navigation, did it help out. Although, this wouldn't be the last time we end up in a sewer for a campaign. Chapter 3 gets a 3.5 out of 5. Alright, we finally made it. We're at the hospital. We only have to go up like what, 30 floors? Easy. Honestly, the attention to detail on this map here is great. adding in infected with hospital gowns on with butts showing. Oh yeah, dead ass. I'm a butt guy. Is a great way of immersion. The random x-rays of people becoming infected, caution tape breaking upon contact, albeit the chapter seems shorter in comparison to the last two, it's just more condensed and therefore more focused and an embracive experience. Considering there is less room to maneuver as well, infected have an easier time flanking, sneaking up, and attacking you. The only thing I really have to say as to not be a total walkthrough of No Mercy is the actual methods of getting to the roof. Once you go down a few halls, seeing rooms where infected patients were executed and where a possible patient 0 was incubated, you reach the elevator where once you turn it on, boom, the slight beep of an elevator suddenly alerts hundreds of infected.
They're coming!
Oh joy! After fighting waves of zombies in your choice of any room on the floor, you get in the elevator, which surprisingly is working perfectly fine, considering the infected literally destroyed a subway system. Once you go up 28 floors, you go down to the construction zone, which, before I forget, yes, they included an uncommon infected in the port to Left 4 Dead 2, so you can see construction zombies. This is where Left 4 Dead 1 and Left 4 Dead 2 make their biggest noticeable difference though. The inclusion of the charger makes this whole area at the top and the finale just a scary ass death trap. Considering Valve did not have him in mind when making this map, looking down from the skyscraper, you don't see much considering the game was made in 2008, so you can only see the city's horizon, you can't see the city at ground level. Once you've fought your way through a minor maze of a construction area, you will find another car alarm? That doesn't seem right. And a safe room! Overall, I love this portion of the campaign. A hospital environment to tell the story of how the infection affected the medical environment, the attention to detail and everything else leading to the finale was just an interesting trek through a ravaged hospital. Chapter 4 gets a 5 out of 5. Now we are
Almost there!
a straightforward shot to the roof adorned with a bunch of empty rooms that may or may not have supplies, but considering it's a construction area, I won't pay too much mind to the emptiness of this area. We see an elevator shaft with no elevator, so you have to go up the old-fashioned way by either crawling through the vent or being an MLG and going the left way. Ascending the ladders up to the roof, you see the wide landscape and scope of how high up you are even more and how daunting the fall would be. We finally get the first look at what finales truly are, turning the game that was once a linear run and gun to a safe area dynamic, shifting to an area survival type scenario. Turning on the radio, you alert the helicopter pilot from earlier to come pick you up. Infected apparently inherently know when people call for rescue, because the whole damn posse will ride up saying, bitch. While a relatively small area to fight in, you do get a number of options to hold up in. Unless you're playing Left 4 Dead 2, then you'll probably just go here because of the constant fear of being charged off a roof. You are equipped with a minigun, although its use is so limited and situational that most people never even think to use it unless a tank is directly in front of it down below. The damage to the roof is minimal, except for some of the helicopter landing site having some caved in parts. You are free to explore other parts of the roof, but most of it is just merely a death trap waiting for you, since you're pretty much almost about to fall off wherever you go unless you stay close to the communications room where a lot of walls are. This finale is an easily controllable event if you set up correctly, otherwise it's a hot mess. You're given more than enough supplies to dispatch infected and tanks alike, and honestly this is one of the finales that doesn't feel like it drags on for too long, especially if you did the Jesus Room glitch back in the early days of Left 4 Dead 1 back in 2008. Damn, that's already been 10 years. When the finale runs its course, the helicopter will finally swoop in, but not before another car alarm! You jump in the first escape vehicle ever and fly off into the nighttime sky. This finale set the precedent for finales to follow, but on its own, it was an enjoyable and controlled experience, yet most of the map feels empty and just avoided considering most of it forces you to stay inwards lest you fall 30 stories. I would give this finale a 4 out of 5. So overall, after all the individual chapter scores, I would give No Mercy a 4.3 out of 5. That's all of it rounded up. The campaign is a solid experience with some impressive quality put into it, as I said before, but in some portions felt unneeded or mundane, or could have been cut in general. But enough of what I think, what do my friends think? It's the OG Left 4 Dead map. Fuck that sewer ladder though. From Cakeslayer. It's one of my favorites. The level design is solid and holds up pretty well, even with the new infection from Left 4 Dead 2. Even though it's linear, I really like the small branching paths you take during certain sections. Attention to detail is nice too, like in the hospital you can find x-rays, zombie and gowns, etc. Nanogerm. And, the best review of all, there's a hospital in it, and that's pretty cool. Than the Mage. Now, I will leave what campaign comes up next to you. Vote by leaving your comment down in the comment section, or donate to my Patreon and I'll be more likely to pick the campaigns picked by donators there as well. Which, by the way, thanks to my Super Chat and Patreon donators, Lovable Tester, Mario, NATO, 6141, Momoka, Shielarby, Turtle Lord, Scout with a Name, Ricardo Ascension, Dr. Do, PhD, Austin Langford, Michael Martinez, Drake and Z4, Twilight Doug, Deja, Obi-Wan Jones, Jess Lemons, Exploding Burritos Experience, Triggered Communism, KM, AACC, Nick B, Benny Boy, Kylie Elizabeth, Emerald Wolf, Florian B. Bell, Gay as Maiden, Jesse Piazza, and Taylor07. Thank you for your generous donations to Wow Such Gaming. Did I miss out on anything about No Mercy that you just had to have in the review? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you want to see next time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and ring that bell. And until next time, I'm Zack, aka Wow Such Gaming. Stay W to the O to the W. That spells wow. And don't forget, you can also subscribe by clicking in this video or clicking one of my videos of the past so you can watch more of my content. Don't give that button no mercy, baby.